Okay, so in many yeshivot, there's certain mesechtot that are considered richer for analysis, and usually they're in 2 of the 6 starim. Which 2 are they in usually? Nezikin and Nashim. That is correct. Very good. Who said that? Okay, Eli Rogel is also in it. Eli Rogel, he's a double winner. He's a yeshivish guy, and he's got a great shirt. Okay, so I'll give you an example, guys. You go to the mirror and look at a lot of yeshivot have a cycle. So what might you expect to find in the yeshiva cycle there? You'll find things like in Nashim, you'll have Ktuvot, Gittin, and Kiddushin. They're considered good mesechtot for analysis. And then in the Zikin, you'll have, people really like the Babas, right? Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Batra. And it's less common that you'll have a Moed Mesechet in the cycle. Okay, I'm good with that, guys? Okay, now in Orayta, we don't really think in those terms. I guess we're less yeshivish. But we have a mixture of more yeshivish Mesechtot and not. But we tend to not do that much Dinei Mamanot, monetary law. But today's Shiur Klali is going to be pure Dinei Mamanot. We'll get exposure to that world. Let me just tell you one interesting thing that you might have thought, this favoritism towards the monetary part, that began like in Volozhin in 1842. So listen to this, guys. This is really remarkable. Okay, the last Mishnah in Baba Batra, which means the last Mishnah of the 3 Babas, says as follows. Here we go. Amar Rabbi Yishmael, Arotze Sheyachkin. If you want to become wise, what should you do? Ya'asok b'dinei mamanot. What's the claim? Yeah, that's really where wisdom is found. Right, that's really the deepest analysis is there in monetary law. So it's just kind of interesting to me, like this assumption is not something that started 200 years ago. It goes back 1600 years. Actually, more than that. But it goes back like 1800 years that Dinei Mamanot is particularly deep. Okay, we're good with that? So now we're going to get to a good Dinei Mamanot topic. So let me just tell you what the broader topic is, then we'll get down to the specifics. What does a court do when there really is a deadlock? Meaning 2 people are arguing over some monetary object, and there's really no reason to prefer one over the other. Actually, let me toss it to you guys, just before you even know any cases. What should we do? Okay, yeah. Charlie and I are arguing over who owns this cup, and we have none of us any proof whatsoever. What do you guys think? What would be a solution? What should Beit Din do?
Flip a coin.
Okay. Arbitrary?
Monetary value of the cup and pound.
Okay, so splitting it is possible. Excellent. Maybe the third suggestion? Yeah. Well, isn't the compromise splitting it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, got it?
Whoever had property first.
Okay, good. So let's see now how it does. Yeah? Renan? What? Okay, what if they're both willing to swear, though?
That'd be bad.
Okay. That would be bad, but it would just create a question. All right, so let's see, guys. We're going to see 3 solutions in the Talmud. We're going to try to understand when we do one, when we do the other. And we're also going to try to understand one of them is going to knock your socks off. So we're going to try to figure out why in the world we would say that. All right, here we go. First mission, Bamatzia, source 1. Guys, you need to know this. Great. You did it. It's going to be a Shivish guy. You need to know this. Okay? Shnayim ochsin betalit. Have you heard that phrase before? Oh, see? He is a Shivish guy. 2 people are... Yes, David. What? Yeah, because you went to Yula, right? Okay, so you're a Yeshivish guy. Okay, so 2 people are holding a talit. Each one says, I found it. Even says, it's totally mine. Now, apparently, we have no proof whatsoever that one's at the advantage. And they're both holding this talit. What do we do? So, Renan, since you said this oath, now, it's kind of an interesting, unusual oath. They don't take an oath that it's theirs. What's their oath? At least half of it is mine. Why is that their oath? V'achloku. Because what do we actually do? We split it. Okay, so here, Mikey, one possibility is what you suggested. Okay, how do we deal with a case when there's no evidence one or the other? We just split it. Okay, now Rashi makes the Gabi Teresh point, and we're going to come back to this point later. Shnayim ochzin b'talit, davka ochzin, specifically when they are holding it. Tishneim muchzakim ba, ve'ein lezeh koach ba yoter mizeh. No one has more power or force than the other. She'ilu hayta biyad echad levado. Let's just change the case a little bit, okay? So now Charlie and Sammy are arguing, but they're arguing, and Sammy's holding the talit. So they're both in the street corner. Sammy's holding the talit, Charlie's facing him, and they're arguing about whose talit it is. What's the din then? Hamotzi mechavero alav lavi raya be'edim shishalo. Okay, this is very famous, guys. What does it mean? Hamotzi mechavero alav raya. Mitchell in his sterling blue shirt. Oh, wait, I discovered something important that I did not know. Mitchell actually has 3 blue shirts, not just one. Mitchell, you know, it's not. It could be not just a Thursday thing, Mitchell. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Mitchell. Yes. Okay, so I think there's something similar in English. Don't you say like possession is 9/10 of the law, right? So apparently, if you are holding an item, the legal assumption is that it's yours. Holding it gives you force, right? And therefore, the burden of proof would fall. If Sammy's holding it, the burden of proof would totally be on Charlie. So we're going to try to figure out how this works also, what the logic of it is. But, okay, so what do we have so far, guys? If one's holding it, we have a winner. If they're both holding it, then they split. Okay, we're good? Okay, great. Now let's go to another case, and we'll see something really amazing. You guys are going to be shocked, but life's about to surprise. This is going to be even better than the surprise at 12:45, guys. Okay, here we go. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Fine, you'll tell me after 12:45. Okay. Ahu Arba. There was a boat. I'm in source 3. Now notice, monetary law, notice that all these sources are like Bab Metzia, Bab Batra, right? That's where monetary law is to be found. Okay, Ahu Arba Davi Minsula Beitrei. 2 people are fighting over a boat. Hi Amar Didihi. One says it's mine. V'Amar Didihi. One says it's mine. Okay, now there's a whole other conversation, which I think I'll actually leave out for now. Let's skip to the last line. Okay, at the very end of the second to last line. Each one claims the boat belongs to their father. Rav Nachman, now comes the shocking psak, guys. Kol de alim gavar. Has anyone ever heard this phrase before? Kol de alim gavar. Okay, in modern Hebrew, what does the word alim mean? Anyone know what alimut is? Where's Ben? What's alimut?
Violence.
There you go. Okay. Guys, it's so good to be the child of Israelis. It's really just amazing. Okay, alim is force, power, and alimut actually means violence in modern Hebrew. So, violence. Okay, and what would it mean, guys? Lehit gaber on something? Someone just said it. To overcome, to win is lehit gaber. So the prayer called to alim gvar. Whoever is stronger wins. Now this is shocking. It sounds like it's kind of a might makes right. Okay, we don't say split it here. We say, all right, you guys fight it out. You guys fight, we'll see who wins. So obviously the question is, why would halacha have such a concept of kol da'olam gvar? Okay, whoever is stronger wins. It seems very un-Jewish to have might makes right. Okay, yes, Gavri. But I think there the mem is a suffix, not part of the root. Okay, in fact, but I am bothered. You guys want to hear the things that trouble me language-wise? I don't know if you need to hear them, but I'll tell you anyway. Okay. I was curious how often this verb, aleph lamed mem, is in Tanakh. So as you guys know, I love to use my concordance, my favorite sefer in the world. Okay, and I found that, this is actually relevant to my Shemot here. Okay, what does aleph lamed mem often mean in Tanakh? Or at least 8 times? Elaim is? Someone who's? What? No, okay, that's clever, but no. Remember, guys, God says to Moshe, who makes people Elaim, O Cheresh, O Iver? Elaim is mute. Okay, good. Elaim means mute. Okay, excellent. But what about the following pasuk, guys? Yosef is describing his dream, and he says, very good. Who is that? Ari Muk knows his Tanakh. Hine anachnu ma'almim alumim betoch hasadeh. Now, I don't think it means that their sheaves of whatever are mute. What does it mean, malumim betoch hasadeh? I thought it means that they're fighting. Actually, no, it's someone who has an English Tanakh in front of them. Can you look it up? It's Breishit Lamed Zayin. Look at Breishit Lamed Zayin. No, pasuk like Yud Bet. Let's see. I'm sorry? What? Aluma with an ayin is a different word. We're doing with an aleph. I'm guessing you bet. Lamed Zayin, I'm sure. Look where Yosef's dreams are. Maybe it's earlier, maybe it's Yod or Chet. How does he translate Anachnu malumim betoch hasadeh?
Behold, we were binding sheaves in the middle of the field. When behold, my sheep arose and lost from
It means to bind? Okay, but here's what I understand. In the concordance, malumim is listed together with the other 8 times that it means mute. I have no idea why this is related to muteness. Okay, so that is what's bothering me today, but we'll worry about that some other time. Okay, but in any case, in modern Hebrew, and here, Kol Olam Gavar means whoever is stronger wins. Okay, yes, Yosef.
Maybe it's the reason for that. Notice for the audience that you have no precedent for who has to run whichever. It's like he's basically saying this one for certain rounds first. Like if I don't agree about the first, then you grab the first, then we know the finish. Everybody else has to run first.
Okay, good. But you're very good, Yosef, but there are 2 ways to say it. We're going to see the 2 ways right now, guys. I think you're going to all love this debate. Okay, now, first of all, just one thing I'm not 100% sure about. If you look at the Rashbam and Baba Batra on Kol Olam Gavar, he says there are 2 ways to win. Ben b'rayot, ben b'koach. Now, those are very different kind of ways. What would be rayot? I actually have proofs. I have arguments why it's mine. But koach would just be, I'm just stronger than you, right? So it is, the surprising one, of course, is b'koach. Rayot is not so surprising. Now, what is the logic of Kol Olam Gavar? Now here, guys, the debate between the Rush and the Shittim Betzit is just outstanding. Let us start with the Rush. Okay, source 5. Zeh Omer Shlavotay v'zeh Shlavotay Amar Nachman Kol Olam Gavar. Hi, Kol Olam Gavar. Dinu Dekomi shegavar yado bepama rishona. Notice what he emphasizes. Whoever wins the first time initially, hu shelo ad shivi chaver raya, until the other guy brings a real proof. The kozman shelo yavi raya. Af im tikbar yado lo shavkini lafuki mine. What's his claim, guys? What if, okay, Noam is stronger than me, so Noam wins. He takes home the talit. He takes home the boat. But I say, this is ridiculous. I then go work out in the gym for 4 months. Okay, and now I'm stronger than him. So I say, Noam, I'll beat you up. You don't give me that boat. So can I get the boat that way? So what is the Rush arguing? No. And what's his argument? The lo mistaver, it's not logical. Shitaknu chachamim shiukol yameim b'meriva umachloket. What is he claim? Which is pretty reasonable. Could it be that they spend a lifetime fighting? That just can't be. Like it's back and forth for a lifetime. What must be the din? They fight it out once and it's over. Okay, so that's pretty reasonable from a practical perspective. But then the Rush takes it a step further. Okay, here we go. Hayom yigbarzeh machar chavero el chacham pasku kol da'olim b'pam hazot gavar. But now, this is a very famous Rush. Next time you're on the bus and there's like yeshivish guys sitting next to you, tell them this Rush. He'll be very excited. V'samchu al zeh. And what's samchu al zeh? They relied on this. Dekol misha dinimo. If you're actually right, karov lahavi rayot. It's more likely you'll be able to find proof. V'od misha dinimo. If you're right, yimsor nafsho lahamid shelo biyado. Now again, you could disagree with this, but let's just get what he's claiming. What's he claiming? The guy who's actually owns the talit or boat? First he said out of proof. What is in the second argument? He will try harder. Because it's really his. Let's keep reading. V'od yomer ma betza shem sanushiva yom l'chayav yiraya. Why is this, what's his third argument? That the guy who's lying isn't as motivated because he knows the other guy might get a proof one day. So I might beat him up and win, but it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory if 4 months later he finds the deed, the bill of sale, that proves it's his. So let's stop for a second, guys. Now I admit one could argue this, but let's just get the Rush's logic down. What does the Rush think is happening when we say Kol Olam Gavar? We're actually counting on the right guy winning. Okay? He has various reasons why he thinks so. We are counting on the right guy winning. We think he's going to try harder. We think the other guy is not going to be as motivated because he knows I might find a proof. That is the Rush's psak. Yes? Eitan.
That's kind of like when Shlomo...
Interesting. Right, very good. Yeah. So you might try to compare this to Shlomo's famous psak about the baby. Excellent. Yeah, David Angel.
What if the vote is mine and I just don't want to fight someone?
Okay, excellent. So David's correct. There might be some limitations on this Rush because, I don't know, maybe this is sometimes true. It's a little bit hard for me to say it's always true. Like, thieves can be pretty determined. So what if the dishonest guy actually has more determination than the real owner? Okay, the Rush seems to say that wouldn't be the norm. Okay, so I'm not sure how to evaluate what the percentages would be. Like how frequently would the real guy win, how frequently would the other guy win. But I'm with you, David. Michael.
Also, isn't it just weird that we're instituting violence as...
Okay, good. Okay, so maybe we should look for another theory. It seems odd that Allah would do this. I'm going to point out this is clearly not the only model. Because what do we do in the Tali case? We said split it. So we really have to do two things here. One is, what is the logic of when we say split it, when we say kol dalam gavar? And then, if we're ready to say kol dalam gavar, how do we justify such a psak? Michael?
Is the Rosh talking about only like fighting or also between?
Okay, you guys are very. I always say, guys, when I teach in Orayta, I can't gloss things over because someone always catches me on it. So I'm not sure how to navigate the following, guys. Even in the Rashbam, I'm already confused. How did the Rashbam interpret Kol Dalam Gavar? Whether with proofs or but as Michael said, those are very different things. Are we bringing arguments and proofs, or are we fighting it out? Which are we doing? Somehow it seems to be a combination. And even the Rush, guys, notice the Rush has 3 arguments. How many of them were about proofs? How many of them were about force? In the Rush's 3 arguments. So the first one was about proofs. What does he say? The real guy's more likely to have proofs. But then what does he say in the second one? The real guy's likely to try harder. And in the third one, the thief is likely to try less hard because he's afraid of a proof. So notice there's a total mixture there of... So Michael, I admit, I'm not sure exactly how to navigate that. But I'm just saying, since Koach seems to be a part of it, so I'm willing to analyze how could Koach even be a part of it. But I agree, like what's that combination? I'm not sure. Yeah.
What about a case where both of them think they're right? Like in a lot of saloons, there's a lot of
Oh, not bad.
They both think they own it, and always the real basing. So I think I have this, and he thinks.
Okay, good point. Very good point. Yeah.
Is there a case with Aiden?
Well, if we had witnesses, what would happen? We wouldn't have to fight. We'd have a psak. Witnesses are the greatest proof in halacha.
Both sides have witnesses.
Okay, that's a good question, but not for us right now. Yeah.
I guess is it a slightly different scenario to where they both think they own it, but what if two people come across an item that's hefker at the, like similar time? They both think they paid
So couldn't that be the case in Bava Metzia? Because what does each one say in the first Mishnah? Not that I bought this 10 years ago, but I found it. In theory, we're going to get to this a little later, guys. Well, let me ask you the question. When they split it, is it possible that actually reflects the legal reality, or it's just a compromise? So I think most would think, no, it's just a compromise. In what way might it actually reflect the legal reality? What if they both found it simultaneously and grabbed it? Right, so maybe then it really is the halacha of that. So maybe splitting it is not necessarily... Well, what can we do? We have to compromise in life. We're saying, oh, maybe that's what happened, actually. Okay, Sammy said fits your point. Okay, anybody else with a comment? Mitchell.
The finding is still subject to the way they found it.
I'm sorry?
Not the finding still subject to the way they found it.
Okay, but one thing, guys. Okay, I hope you're not disappointed by this. Because it's against the halachot of, what's it called again? Of sitting shotgun. Okay, I think every family has hilchot shotgun, right? Okay, wait, you have to call it, like how close do you have to be when you call it? Right, what are some of the other rules? Is that it? You have to see the car? That's it. In the world of shotgun, obviously calling has legal force. Okay, but what if I tell you that in the world of finding lost objects in halacha, calling it does not have legal force? Okay, what has legal force? Picking it up. So then, Mitchell, I think it would work, right? Let's say you and I are running for something, and you call it, but we both pick it up simultaneously, right? So it would indeed be both of ours. Yeah.
Is it possible that the quote the Elon Gavar applies if you can't easily just pick it up? Then in that case, like it's the alternative to that.
Okay, but again, I still think we have David's question. It seems unusual for halacha to say might makes right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the Shita Mekubetzet. We'll see another theory that you guys might like better. Just very briefly, the Shita Mekubetzet is a book by Rabbi Yitzchak Ashkenazi, who lived in Egypt. And think about what it sounds like. What would it mean a Shita Mekubetzet? What's Mekubatz? Like a kibbutz. What did he do? He collected positions. So guys, think about it before the printing press. It was much harder to have access to the commentaries. So I don't know how, but somehow Rabbi Yitzchak Ashkenazi had a lot of access to manuscripts. So he did a favor to everybody. What was his favor? I'll gather all the Pirushim together into one work. So you don't have to own your own Ramban, your own Rashba, your own Ritva. It's all here. Okay? Yeah. When we publish today a collection of commentaries, it's called the Kovetz Mefarshim, right? A collection. Where else do you guys all know that word from? Yeah, but what modern Israeli institution? Yeah, why is the kibbutz called a kibbutz? Because it's a collective mode of living, right? So it's a collection. Okay? We're good? Yeah, Eli.
One thing, like, can you apply the case of the first Mishnah to the rest of it? Because, like, I was thinking it might be different because it's a religious item.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
That's really fascinating, but as far as I know, in the Gemara, no one seems to suggest that the fact that it's Talit matters. But it is a very clever suggestion.
And then also, like, for the Gemara, you say that, like, you shrink, like, if it's my boat and someone comes on, because we know that you can't just fight, like, other people just randomly. But if someone comes to maybe, like, take your boat from you when you're on your boat, then maybe you could use fire.
Okay, but I think the assumption, don't forget that second Rashi in source 2, if someone's holding it, we actually do have a winner, because that rule of Hamotzi Mechevro Alav Haraya. Okay, here we go, guys. Source 6. Amar Rav Nachman Kolam Gavar. Alma Shekatav Harush. So everyone was interested in that rush. Bipsakav. Kol Mi Shekab Yado B'Pam Rishona. Katav B'Shita Lo Noda Lami. Oh, I love it when we quote that. Who wrote the Shita Lo Noda Lami? Hey, guys, what do the words mean? Shita Lo Noda Lami. It's a position that we don't know who wrote it. I mean, we have this manuscript and it's anonymous. Okay, what does it say in the Shita Lo Noda Lami? Ve'elu Adram Einem Burim Etzli. Shatam Sha'amar Kol Olam Gavar. Here we go, guys. Mifye'ein Beitin Skukim Lizekek Lidinam. Kivan Delek. Basically, Beitin can't deal with this. Kivan Deleka Drar Demona Litarvayu. Veleka Lamekim Allah Demilta. We're not able to establish at all who the winner should be. Velkivan Shekain Noach Lanicham Lasot Kirt Sonam. We'll let them do as they see fit. V'lo naseh anudin. We're not going to do a judgment shiachol levoli titod that could easily just be mistaken. Guys, what this Shitin Ubetz is basically saying, Kol Dolam Gavar is not a psak. We're not ruling. What are we basically doing? We're saying this case is not, what's the word? There's some word, not rulable. What do they call it? Can't be adjudicated? Is that the rule they said? It's not subject to adjudication. Meaning Beitin can't do anything. So Beitin, basically you can call it their masalik. They just remove themselves from the case. What's called Olam Gavar? It is simply the outgrowth of Beitin's inability to deal with it. So I think this is an important point because you might think that, I know you could disagree, but there's an interesting angle here. Oh, Beitin should have an answer to everything. Maybe there's certain things we can't answer. We have no way of really addressing it. And therefore we're not going to get involved. Like no one has a proof. We have no evidence whatsoever. Maybe it would be almost improper for Beitin to try to make a ruling. But let's think for a second, guys. Notice how different this is than the Rush. According to the Rush, what's going on? It is a psak. What's our ruling? Fight it out, and we'll put our stamp of approval that whoever won that first fight, it's his. According to the Shita Mekubetz, we're not posking anything. We have no idea who's right. It's just that we can't address it because we have no means of addressing it. But think about the implications, though, guys. Let's keep reading. And I think this does follow, even though it's a little bit tricky. Hilkach, therefore, kol mi shitka b'yado b'chol pam haru b'shuto. What is the great nafkamina, guys, between the Rosh versus the Shita Mekubetz? What does he claim about how this works? Remember what the Rosh said, right? What did the Rosh say? We fight it out. Whoever wins one, it's all over. What should be true according to the Shita Mekubetz? They could fight forever. Now, it's not because we're in favor of fighting forever. But why does it follow from what he said that they can fight forever? Because what's called Olam Gavar? It's not that Beitin made a ruling. What did Beitin basically do? We wash our hands of this. We are not. So if we're not doing anything, so again, because Kol Olam Gavar is not a psak. It is just the result of Beitin receding. So again, I also don't love the idea that they fight forever. But I think it follows from the Shita Mekubetz. So let me take comments, guys. You can see why people like monetary law. This is a really interesting debate. How could you have might makes right? Says the Rosh. We actually think that in this case the right guy will win. So Beitin says this is our method of ruling. Kol Olam Gavar, and we assume the right guy will win. I know we have David Inch's questions, but that's the Rosh. Says the Shita Mekubetz, not at all. We don't assume the right guy will win. It's just Beitin can't do anything. If we have absolutely no reason to prefer one A to B, we have no means of dealing with it. Since we have no means of dealing with it, we just say it's not a case for us. We can't adjudicate this case. And if they step back, Kol Olam Gavar is the result. But that's why it could be forever according to the Shita. Okay, now comments or questions. Ariel.
According to the Mekubetz, if it's it's not like a particular din in terms of fighting over it, wouldn't they just fall under, would they not be able to fight because lower rulings of like, you know, allowed to like kill each other or whatever?
Meaning, I assume whether you're the Rosh Yeshiva, I assume there's a limit on what the fighting is. I assume it's still usher to kill the other guy, right? I assume it's still usher to beat him up and cause great damage, right? I assume there are limitations in how the fighting works.
Right.
Okay? Does that solve your problem or no?
Yeah, but also, it doesn't really make sense. Isn't the whole point of the law to stop people from fighting each other?
Okay, so now, see guys, I'll give you a warning. Let me remember, I still remember I did this once. How many people in this room are going to law school in their future? Oh, really? Not so many? Okay. 3.5. Okay. Apparently, Elliot Rogel thinks Gabi Teresh is, but Gabi Teresh does not think he is. Wait, Gabi Teresh, what do you think you're doing? Okay. So, in any case, guys, so I'm just giving you a little warning. It's not true for everybody, but many people find that law school is more interesting than actually being a lawyer. Okay, so just be aware of that. It is possible that the interesting debates and analysis you have in law school will not be the same as actually reading documents looking for mistakes when you're a lawyer. Okay, just a little warning. Okay, I'm not telling you not to go into law, but just be aware of that. But law school is quite interesting. Okay, in fact, you might take a course called torts. What's torts going to remind you of? Baba Kama. Because what's torts about? Torts is nezikin. How do categories of damages work? Okay, but in any case, guys, let's go back here for a second. Everyone got it down? What is the debate? What is Kol Olam Gavar? Theory 1, it's actually a psak. That's the rush. And since it's a psak, we do it once and it's over. Theory 2, the Shita Mubetzet, it's not a psak. It's bait in deciding. They have their limitations. Now, I think what someone just said is interesting. Really what Ariel said. Like, how do we think about the role of courts? Are courts supposed to solve all of society's problems? And if that's true, it's very hard to deal with the Shita Mubetzet. No, courts, you're supposed to decide all of society's problems. What if somebody says, no, it's actually healthy for courts to know the limitations? Maybe we don't want courts to step in all the time. And if they really can't help, they can't help. Okay, so again, I think we could debate the point, how we think about the court system. Yeah?
In theory 2, would this ruling of Kol, the Olam Gavar, be proof that our involvement with about the talus, that is reflecting galactic reality and not actually a compromise? Because otherwise, that only talus was a compromise, and we could.
Okay, so very good, Yosef. So we're actually going to skip a little out of order. One thing we've not addressed yet is, we obviously don't always do Kol Olam Gavar because we've got this other model called Yachloku. So why don't we just always go to Yachloku or always go to Kol Olam Gavar? That we've not addressed yet. Ezra Eskin.
I have 2 questions, but one's really short.
Excellent. Ezra, I think it's the first time you've spoken up all year. Is that correct? Okay. You know, there used to be like a sports show where they would like ding a bell if someone's first comment. Like, I think they would say, it's more before your time, guys. Anyone remember Mike and the Mad Dog? Okay, they would say, the guy would say, long-time listener, first-time caller. Okay, that's you, Ezra Eskin. Long-time listener. Actually, I'm sorry. Wait, Ezra. I apologize, Ezra. It's just too good a line. We're actually going to ring the bell and say, long-time not listener, first-time caller. Okay, yeah, Ezra, go ahead.
Oh, shut.
I want to ask my question. Okay. Going back to it earlier, when you say split toss, is it like this is the monetary value?
Yeah. Correct. It wouldn't make sense to actually cut the toss in half.
Yeah. And then, I don't really understand because like the sheet of questions, they kind of have the same exact, they kind of have the same answer, right? Like, because you're telling it
No, because if we split it, Beit Din is giving a ruling. It is trying to navigate.
No, I'm saying didn't the Rush say they have to fight it out?
Yeah, but okay, as I think what's bothering you is a good question. We haven't addressed yet. Like, why is our response to the boat case different than our response to the Talib case?
Right, I'm saying like, the last one that we did, say that the Beit Din can't judge it, right?
Yeah.
It's not up to them. But then, so technically if they step back and then figure it out themselves, isn't that technically also just fighting for the rest of their lives?
No, he is trying to explain the fighting theory. I mean, again, we have splitting as one solution. We have fighting it out as another solution. What is fighting it out about? According to the Rosh, it actually is a way of arriving at the truth. According to the Shita Mubetzet, it's actually Beit Din relinquishing their jurisdiction on the case. Yeah.
So, because in the first case, like, the cause really is both theirs. Like, they're both intelligent, they think the cause, they both found it. It belongs to both of them. So to do that.
Noah Morgenfeld, excellent. Everyone go to source 8. Actually, let's go to source 9. Source 9 says even more powerfully. Now, I pointed this out to my morning share. Let's do this again, guys. Let's say, wait, I've got this Gemara in Bamitzia and another one in Babatra, and they seem to conflict. Who is the classic Rishon to go to? Tosafot. Isn't that Tosafot's main job? Let us reconcile Shas. But what's a good move, guys, if you really want to do this story in depth? Wait, I could look at Tosafot both in Bamitzia and Babatra. Maybe he doesn't say, or they don't say the same thing. Guys, especially because, remember, Tosafot is not an individual. Tosafot is a school. So obviously a school could have a certain theory, but the school's not always going to have the same. Different representatives will say different things. Okay, so let's look at source 9. Source 9, exactly this question. How is the boat case different than the Tali case? Second line. And this, who's the most important member of the Tosafot school? Benu Tam. What was his real name? Who? Someone just said in the back. Who said it there? Yaakov. Good. Why would you call him Benu Tam? Okay, excellent. Here we go. Mefarish Benu Tam. It's really Noam's point. The Ochzin Shani. What's different about the Tali case? They're holding it. The boat case is me, you, and the boat. Here we're holding the Talit. Who cares? The Kivin Sheshne Muchzakin. Since the holding it, Ein Lanu Lahaniach Sheyigzu Echavro. The Chashiv, what's it considered? Ki'ilu Anu Yodin, as if we know. Sheyesh L'Shneim Chelik Ba. Shekol Davar Yesh Lamid Becheskan Mishu B'Yado. Now this is pretty strong thought. What's the claim? If you're holding something, what does Allah assume? It actually is yours. And therefore, we're not in a zero. Again, what happens in the boat case? We have no evidence whatsoever. No one has any advantage. No one has any real claim on the boat. We're just stuck. What's the claim about the Talit case? No, it's not like that. What's happening? Two different people have a certain amount of force because they're both holding it. In that case, we'll have to say, you know what? Let's assume that it's both of theirs, and we'll split it. Okay, guys? So he seems to assume that the difference between the boat case and the Talit case is this concept of chazaka. The fact that you're holding something gives you presumptive ownership, and that's why we split it. Yes, Hunter.
For the source before,
so yeah,
it was talking about how so you're saying base skin is basically they're basically removing themselves from the situation, we can't do anything about it, just let them fight it out. But I feel like there has to be some better way to do that. I feel like it's base skin's responsibility to take responsibility.
You know what I'm thinking, guys? I'm thinking that there's a broader political issue at work here, okay, which is. This might not be, thank you so much. This might not be a good parable in trying way. How do we conceive of the role of government? All right, now we need a new category, guys. Who is the yeshiva libertarian? Sam, there we go. Okay. Okay, okay, wow, that was a pretty quick answer. Okay, so let's go with Sam. Okay, Sam, you go together with the Shita Gubetze. What do I mean, guys? Sam would say, we don't want a world where government is always telling us what to do. That's a world that's infringing, right, Sam? That's what you say? That's a world that infringes on freedom. Okay, you know what? What's a healthier attitude? Society will work it out. We don't need government to tell us to work it out. Don't treat us like children. We're going to figure it out. Okay, so now I admit, I personally am not a libertarian. But what if we say that the libertarian impulse is not 100% wrong? Right? That it has its moments of truth. Okay, that there are cases where, no, we don't need the authorities to work it out. We don't want them stepping in all the time. So, couldn't you argue, guys, that a similar impulse is motivating the Shita Mekubetze? What's the Shita basically saying? If Beit Din could really tell who's right, so tell us who's right. But Beit Din, if you have no idea who's right, don't tell us what to do. We'll work it out. So maybe we'll call it. Sam, I never did this before. I'm going to start referring to it as the libertarian Shita Mekubetze. Okay, there we go. Okay, Hunter, does that make it any better for you or no? It could be your impulses are not particularly libertarian.
I mean, a little bit, but I'm saying more why would they? I feel like the whole reason we have these systems in the first place is so people don't just fight over it.
Of course.
Because in that case, why don't they draw some sort? I mean, this I think it's just as unfair for them to fight it out as it is for Allah, because the person who wins this fight is just naturally stronger.
Okay, so the truth is, let me throw in one more point, guys. maybe I should emphasize this more. If you like the Shita Mekubetzet, Kol Dam Gavar doesn't mean we're suggesting they get in the boxing ring. What does it mean simply? We are not getting involved, and therefore you solve it. Now it could be they solve it by beating each other up. Could be they solve it by talking, right? Kol Dam Gavar. It's actually an interesting paradox, guys. That the Rosh is the one who says this is a psak. According to Rosh, they're actually fighting. We're telling them to fight, right? Again, with rayot, as Michael said, with rayot and koch. But according to the Shita Mekubetzet, we're not telling them to fight. We're just telling them we can't solve it. You guys deal with it. Okay, yeah.
Wouldn't it be an effective method of determining ownership by fighting? Because if the person who doesn't own it would eventually just give up. It's not worth it.
Isn't that what the Rosh said? You are totally with the Rosh. The Rosh thinks, we think psychologically, it's more likely the real owner will win. That's what the Rosh is arguing. Okay, yeah, Mikey.
The Shita Mekubetzet says it's argument not like making an entire legal system and like a laughing system obsolete.
Whoa, that was a huge jump. What if in most cases we have a reason to make up psak? There is a proof, or there is a witness.
I'm not saying that as like why it's good. I'm saying that as like a critique of the Shita Mekubetzet.
But no, but I don't understand why. All the Shita's not saying we're totally with Sam. We like total libertarianism. He's just saying that there's certain cases where we can't help, and if we can't help, we step back. Okay. Yeah, Danny Rubin. Danny Roberts, excuse me.
There's a better effective method would be dispute that the court would take the item.
Okay, excellent. So we're not going to get to it, guys, because we're not going to have time, and I want to get to a great Rabbi Chanan. But there actually is a third solution to these kind of cases, which is called, guys, if you look at the last line of source 7, what does it say? Hakol yemunach at sheyavu Eliyahu. Very good, Daniel. What would that mean, guys? Hakol yemunach at sheyavu Eliyahu. How do we deal with it? Basically, Beit Din holds it till Eliyahu comes. Meaning, we don't really dealing with it, and nobody wins. So let me just sum up for a second. So we're not going to get to all the distinctions, guys, but it turns out there are 3 halachic responses to having no way to know who's right. One is to split it, that we saw with the Talid. One is to say Kol Dolam Gavar, either according to the Rosh or the Shita Mekubetzet. And there's a third scenario where we say, oh, you know what? Let Beit Din, is it called compounded? Is what they call it? Let Beit Din take it, and we'll have to wait to see what happens. So, okay, Dennis, it's right there. There is an option like that.
One more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Not just that, but if they were to take it, the real owner could come forward, could be visible because he would be fighting the court for the object rather than.
Look, but according to in any of the solutions, if someone has a real proof, that solves the problem.
But it won't be a proof, though he'll be more willing to fight the court. The court is obligated.
Okay. All right. See, people are intrigued. All right, let's see if we can sneak in 4 comments quickly. Yes, Rafi.
How can we say that we're going to have them fight over it? Because wasn't that one of the problems with Noah, where people were stealing and then they were fighting over the objects?
Look, no one's saying we're in favor of theft. We're just trying to figure out how to deal with a difficult situation. What should Beit Din do when we have no idea who's right?
Okay, but doesn't that lead to, like, maybe not like the theft part, but like the fighting internally and...
Okay, so hold on. We'll try some new argument at the very end, which might make you happy. David Angel.
When you said chazaka a couple minutes ago, are you talking about like the halachic principle? Or
We're getting there in a minute. You know what, guys? I'm going to take comments in a second. I just want to make sure we get Rabbi Chanan, and then we'll take comments. Okay, so as you guys know, one popular mode of analysis is called the Brisker Derech. Okay, it was founded by Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik. One of his students is a man known as Rav Elchanan Wasserman. Okay, I think Rav Gav likes to teach him, right? Has he come up yet this year? Yeah. Okay, I think I would actually argue, if you do a count, he is the Achron most cited by Rav Gav. Okay, last year's guys, Gavi Teresh, is that true? Rav Elchanan? Possible? No? Who else could be a candidate? Pnei Yeshua? Okay, so one thing, guys, if you like Brisker Lumdis, here's a good piece of advice. Reb Chaim is kind of hard to understand. Reb Chanan wrote with exceeding clarity. So I would say he's the easiest Brisker to understand. Okay, so you want to get a little taste of Brisker Lumdis, go with Reb Chanan. He unfortunately was killed by the Nazis in the Holocaust. Okay, so let's go to source 10. Now, let's get to what David Angel said. We have a term called chazaka, and chazaka has many meanings. I'm just giving you 2 of them. Ever since he read this sometimes that if we're not sure what to do, we stick with the status quo. That's one kind of chazaka. But that could be like we're not sure if this meat is tray for kosher. Well, what was the assumption till now? We'll go with that. Okay, that is one kind of chazaka. Okay, and there's also a chazaka of if you're holding something, we assume it's yours. Okay, those are both kinds of chazaka. Let us see what Bechana Wasserman says, guys, and we'll get to a third model. This is amazing. Here we go. The Nir Mizeh, source 10. Taha chazaka, this chazaka, kol ma shetachet yad adam hu shalohu. If you're holding something, we assume it's yours. Eino mitam umdina ubirur. What would be a birur? It's not a clarification. Shekain who? That should be shekain. I typed it in last night. It's not a clarification. This is the reality. Meaning, one way to take it is, this is an assumption about reality. If you're holding something, we assume it really is yours. That's why you're holding it. Rabbi Chanan is denying that. It's not an assumption about reality. So what is it? Ela shedavar torahu she'ein tzrichen lachush shem einu shalo. But it just means you don't have to worry that it's not yours. Meaning, what's he about to say, guys? He's going to say that halachic, it is like middle position between the Rosh and the Shittim Ubetzah. What might you want in a legal system? A way of dealing with scenarios where you don't have an answer. So what's the way of dealing with scenarios where you don't have an answer? Says Rabbi Chanan, in the world of Chazaka, you'll stick with status quo. But let me explain why that's not the same. It's almost like the Rosh is on one side, Shittim Ubetzah on this side, and the Rabbi Chanan's model is kind of in the middle. Because what's the Rosh claiming when we say Kol Olam Gavar? This establishes the truth, the reality. What is the Shittim Ubetzah's model? What's Beit Din doing here? They're absconding. They're not saying anything. What's Rabbi Chanan saying? There's a certain scenario where Beit Din has rules of procedure, even though it's not a statement necessarily about reality. But it's still a psak. Is that too subtle? I understand what I just did. It's not like the Rosh, because the Rosh saying we know the truth. We don't know the truth. But it's not like the Shita, because we're not saying we're hanging up our hands. We're saying, no, this is what we're telling them to do. This is how Allah navigates the case where we don't know the answer. Now, to make it even better, guys, skip down to the line that goes to Af. It's 5 lines down, guys. Now comes the best part. Af Davitar Tesai. Here we go, guys. Avol bi isurin. But wait, when it comes to whether someone's asur mutar, wait, Eli, you can't miss this. It's okay. Bisurin ikka kra. There's a pasuk to tell you follow the chazaka. Mi bayit hamnuga, v'hachal leka kra. But in monetary law, he claims there's no source for this rule. Hamotzi mecharol avaraya. Wait, umash medumi svara. It sounds like we got it logically. The name the B'Torah Birur Amasa Minalia. Wait, why is that a svara? If it's more like just an arbitrary means of dealing with a difficult situation, what's the source of it? Rafi Wilson is going to make you happy. The Efsher Demuchach Shekein Adin Dim Lokein. If this wouldn't be the din, Lo Shavkit Chaye Lecho Beria. Anyone ever see that phrase before? It's a Talmudic phrase. No creature would have a decent life, right? Why not? Shekol Echad Yachtof Mechavero. What will every individual do? Right, I walk into this room today, I see you holding an item, I just grab it for you. V'yomer shaliyu. And Rafi Wilson, this is for you. And what's going to be the result? Umala kalaretz. Hamas. What society will that create? A flood society. V'chtiv, and yet what is there in the Torah? Drached darchei noam. V'chon l'teh shalom. What's supposed to happen? Torah is supposed to create pleasantness. So I think Rabbi Chanan has a remarkable idea. Maybe sometimes, what does Beit Din do? We're not making a psak because we know it's right. We're making a psak because we need a functional society. And you can't have a society where everything is always up for grabs. How do you prevent that? By having a rule called Hamotzi Mechavero Alavrais. I just want to sum up and take closing comments, guys. I hope this has whet your appetite for good monetary law. We have 3 models here about how Beit Din functions. Okay, what is the Rosh's model? What you guys will imagine. What's Beit Din trying to do? Trying to determine the truth. We wouldn't know who's right. If you have witnesses, you're right. Guess what? Sometimes we don't have witnesses. We go with Kol Olam Gavar, but according to the Rosh, it's still an attempt to say who's actually right. Yes, Jacob. It's still a search for the truth. Okay, excellent. What do we have in Rabbi Chanan in the Shittim Ubetzah? The opposite model. The Shita says there's certain scenarios where we can't determine the truth at all, and we go libertarian. We go Sam Goldberg all of a sudden. Beit Din simply withdraws. And that's what you end up with, Kol Olam Gavar. Now Rabbi Chanan, now just one thing guys, everyone's confused. Rabbi Chanan's not talking about Kol Olam Gavar, he's talking about Chazaka. I'm just using it for a third monetary model. What's the third monetary model here? Why do we say if you're holding it, it's yours? So again, you could have tried a rush kind of model. What would that mean? If you're holding it, we really think it's probably yours. You could say that. Rabbi Chana wants to argue that's not the case. We have no idea what the reality is. But what are we doing now? Society has to function. You can't have a society where people are grabbing things all day. So what do? We say, here's our means of navigating reality. We say, when there's a dispute, I think that model is somewhere between the Rosh and the Shitim Kubetze. We're not sure who's right, but it's a real psak. It's not just that Beit Din is withdrawn. Okay, any comments on the three models? Eli?
Well, according to I don't understand what the Rosh is saying about the first time. If you win the first time, you get it. Because if the whole point of it is saying that that if you try harder, like the person who tries the hardest is the one whose object it really was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shouldn't it make more sense that it's like over an extended period of time and not just
Oh, that's an interesting question. I have to think about it. So you're right. You can see, even by the Rosh's logic, it doesn't obviously lead to it's a one-time thing. Yeah, that's a good question. Although I will ask you though, Eli, when would you stop though? It's not so obvious that there's a clear cutoff point.
I don't know that.
Okay, no.
You argue that logic might not apply to the second case and the way that the case?
The Rav Chana.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rav Chana's talking about a Chazak case.
You argue that it can't apply
To the non-Chazak case.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think he would agree with that. Yeah.
This is a case where both of them have zero claims to the item rather than it's like the same kind of claim.
Okay, so you guys are really good. I'm not addressing the following, which I think maybe Sammy brought it up, because it's a really good question, guys. Is it the same equivalent? I've got zero proof, you've got zero proof, or we both have the same proof? That's an excellent question. I think Sammy brought up, what if we both have Adam? Or what if we both have a star? That's basically what you're asking, right?
Yeah, because in the case where they both have zero claim, then the Shita Mekubetz, that makes sense. But if they both have equal,
Excellent. So very good. So it is possible the Shita would agree that if they both have some kind of claim, we don't go with Kol and Gamar. It's really only in a 0-0 scenario. Okay, very good point. Anyone else had a hand up? Yeah. Yitzi.
Did the court, like the difference between the Shita Mekubetz and the Rosh, was that affected by their views on the courts that they experienced in the places of?
Okay, so let me say one thing about that. I'm glad you asked that question. Okay, I am totally open to the fact that your life experience affects how you think. And I think it's hard to deny that. But I would be careful, guys. Sometimes there's a tendency in scholarship to say there's kind of like a one-to-one correspondence. Like whatever life experience has explains everything about how you think, which I just think is not true. So I'll give you an example of that. Okay, so if I asked you to contrast Rav Soloveitchik and Rav Kook, who would you say is a more optimistic thinker? Who's a more pessimistic thinker? Rav Kook is for sure more optimistic. Okay, what's Rav Kook? I see these secular Israelis building the land. Guess what? We're bringing in the Messianic era. That's pretty good, pretty strong optimism, right? Okay, you read Rav Soloveitchik, what's life all about? Tension. I'll give you a great proof, guys. This is the greatest proof ever. There's a famous debate between Rambam and Ramban if prayer is a biblical mitzvah or a rabbinic mitzvah. Rambam thinks it's Doraita, Ramban thinks it's Rabbanan. When does Ramban think it's Doraita? Anyone know? When you're in danger. Very good. 8 Sarah. You guys, you ready? This is the Dvar Torah that most personifies Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Soloveitchik says, Rambam really agrees with Ramban. Wait, so why does Rambam think there's a mitzvah to pray every day? Because every day is an existential crisis. That's what it means to be a human being. Right? Why does the Ramban have to wait for like a war or a famine? We are in crisis right now. So that's typical Rav Soloveitchik. Right? So there you have like the optimist and the pessimist. Okay, you like that, Ariel? Okay. So now, I was once sitting with somebody and he says to me, it's obvious what happened. Rav Kook had a pretty easy life, therefore he's an optimist. And Rav Soloveitchik had a really tough life, therefore he's a pessimist. Okay, there's only one problem with the theory. Yeah, it's not true. Right? If you read the biography of both of them, I would argue that Rav Kook had a harder life than Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Kook lost a child. Rav Kook had a wife die. I guess Rav Soloveitchik's wife died too, but I think he was at an older age. Rav Kook, when he came to Israel, was kind of persecuted by the Zealots. You guys aware of this? Okay, because they viewed him as being too friendly to the secular Jews. So it is simply not. So all I'm saying is not that Yitzi's wrong. Obviously, your life experiences can affect you, but let's not be like reductionist or simplistic. That obviously everything's explained simply by the society you live in. Thank God, humanity is more complex than that. Okay, anybody else with a comment or question before we wrap it up here? Yes, Eli.
Well, I think don't we have this idea that like compromise is better than? But I was thinking like also you bring it to the courts, should also have some sort of punishment for lying. Or like,
Oh, wait, you just did something very good, guys. Maybe we'll close with this. Okay? You guys okay with you want more monetary law?
yes.
Okay. Because it is a little bit abstract. Okay, here we go, guys. I bet some of you have done this, because remember we said that high schools like to do Sanhedrin because they think it'll be interesting for people? Remember that, guys? Okay, so there's a sugi in the first book of Sanhedrin which says, do we prefer din or pshara? Who knows what pshara is? Compromise. So it's a little bit similar to our conversation today, guys, right? Are we always just searching for the truth? Or do we want like a functional society where people get along? So again, it's not exactly the same as today's topic, but I think there is that tension there as well. So those who are interested in this, I would also check out that sugi, it's Sanhedrin Daf Vav, about how din and pshara play into each other. Okay, everybody good with that?
I mean, I was also saying, like, if you go to court, like, and you find out proof later, you could punish the person in lying.
Okay, let's leave that be for now. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. I now hand over the floor to Rav Gav.